Traditional forensic procedures were designed for passive desktop storage. A modern smartphone, by contrast, functions as a live, cloud-enabled computing access terminal. This creates an immediate risk within the volatile memory. The random access memory, or RAM, holds active cryptographic material and application data that only exists while an electrical current is maintained. Internally, the hardware itself is programmed for self-maintenance. Modern smartphones utilize flash storage that executes background cleanup operations, such as wear leveling and trim, which purge residual data during idle periods to maintain the health of the memory cells. Beyond the hardware, the device remains in constant communication with cellular towers and Wi-Fi networks. This persistent polling allows for remote wipe commands or automatic cloud synchronization, both of which can overwrite existing local data. When investigators treat a mobile device like a standard PC and cut the power, they inadvertently destroy the evidence. Wiping the volatile RAM renders the necessary cryptographic material inaccessible, ending the possibility of capturing live system artifacts. Forensic acquisition is a race against these maintenance routines and network commands. The goal is to stabilize the environment before the device's own architecture can purge its history. Neutralizing the external threat requires severing all cellular and Wi-Fi network connections immediately upon seizure. Local cell towers are continuously attempting to register the device's unique identification numbers. On corporate devices, mobile device management platforms can detect unauthorized access or geofencing violations. These platforms are designed to trigger a factory reset command across the network to protect proprietary data. Consumer security features like Apple's Lost Mode utilize the same connectivity. Once the hardware receives a remote signal via iCloud, it locks the interface and can be instructed to self-erase all internal contents. Investigators use physical isolation to block these signals. Placing the device in a Faraday bag, a pouch lined with conductive metal mesh, or a radio-blocking container prevents electromagnetic waves from reaching the internal radio module. However, physical isolation can be counterproductive if airplane mode is not engaged. If the device detects a total loss of signal while inside a Faraday bag, it will boost its transmission power to its maximum setting to locate a tower, rapidly depleting the battery and risking a sudden shutdown of the volatile RAM. Absolute physical isolation is the prerequisite for all further analysis. Only once the radio module is silenced can the examiner address the internal software security. Software preparation involves maintaining a high battery charge and enabling developer or debug mode. These settings allow the forensic workstation to establish diagnostic communication channels that are otherwise restricted. Most modern mobile operating systems utilize data at rest encryption. In this state, user files remain cryptographically scrambled until the correct passcode is provided to the system's secure processor, which then permits the decryption of the file system. Apple's advanced data protection utilizes end-to-end encryption for cloud-synced data. Because the decryption keys are generated and stored exclusively on the user's trusted hardware, the service provider cannot bypass this encryption for law enforcement. Mobile device management software reinforces this by monitoring for security policy violations. Any attempt to alter the phone's root security features can trigger an automated wipe of the user partition. To prevent automated brute force attacks, the hardware enforces a limit on passcode attempts. Reaching the 10th failed attempt initiates a permanent factory reset, purging all non-operating system data from the device. Because bypassing this encryption often leads to data destruction, examiners follow a strict hierarchy of extraction methods, moving from least to most invasive. The first level of the hierarchy is logical extraction. This method relies on the device's own communication protocols to pull data. This illustrates how tools like Cellebrite or Belkasoft use the device's Application Programming Interface, or API. The forensic workstation requests specific files, and the mobile operating system packages and sends that data to the lab computer. The limitation is that the API only provides access to active, non-protected files. It will not deliver hidden system logs, encrypted folders, or records that have been marked for deletion but not yet purged. A physical extraction attempts to bypass the operating system to create a bit-for-bit clone of the flash memory. This process copies every sector of the internal storage, including areas containing deleted artifacts. However, file system encryption has rendered raw clones less effective. If the device was encrypted at the time of the clone, the resulting bit-for-bit image is unreadable without the passcode required to generate the decryption keys. When logical requests are restricted, and physical clones yield only encrypted data, the investigation must move to hardware-level deconstruction. Hardware-level extraction involves invasive, often irreversible procedures used to siphon data when software-based access is impossible. Hex dumping utilizes a modified bootloader to access the RAM directly. This allows an examiner to capture data during the initial boot sequence before the main operating system can fully initialize its security policies. If the bootloader is locked, examiners may use JTAG extraction. By microsoldering electrical leads to the test access port on the circuit board, investigators can communicate directly with the memory chips, bypassing the operating system entirely. If the board itself is non-functional, a chip-off extraction is required. This involves desoldering the physical flash memory chip from the circuit board and placing it into a specialized chip reader to attempt a raw read. The most extreme method is a microread extraction. Examiners use electron microscopes to observe individual logic gates on a damaged memory chip, reconstructing the binary data bit by bit. These methods are reserved for high-stakes cases because they carry a high risk of permanent evidence destruction. They represent the final attempts to bypass a locked or damaged system. Once the data is extracted, it must be parsed based on its physical and logical architecture. This begins with identifying user-removable storage like SD and SIM cards. This tree diagram shows the specific file system used by SIM cards. The master file acts as the root, branching into directory files that organize specific service categories. These lead down to the elementary data files, where the actual data resides. Within these elementary data files, investigators recover the subscriber's unique identity, historical call logs, and network-related location information. Internal application data follows a different structure. The majority of messages, photos, and system settings are managed within SQLite databases. When a record is deleted in an SQLite database, it is merely hidden from the user. However, the system periodically runs an Autovacuum function. Once this maintenance cycle completes, the deleted records are permanently purged from the storage. The effectiveness of recovering deleted SQLite data depends on the timing of the acquisition. Because the system is programmed to optimize its own space, evidence can be lost shortly after it is created. The forensic workflow remains consistent: isolate the device, bypass encryption, escalate extraction, and parse databases. However, transit encryption protocols like iMessage protect data in motion. Simultaneously, cloud-only architecture removes data from the physical handset entirely, relocating evidence to remote servers. This shift completely changes the legal landscape. A warrant to search a physical device doesn't necessarily provide the legal authority to access the remote, cloud-synced backups associated with that user's account. In corporate environments, the priority is data security over recovery. MDM suites allow administrators to prioritize the total destruction of data over a forensic capture, ensuring proprietary information does not survive a device seizure. As operating systems adopt default end-to-end encryption and abstract data to remote servers, successful recovery increasingly depends on rapid memory capture.